And frankly, let me tell you, for me, Europe's security, Europe's pleasure, Europe's happiness, Europe's civilization, Europe's civilizational continuity is not the number one priority. To me, Europe is a colonial power that robbed the global south, ruled it, ruined it, raped it, murdered literally millions of people. The amount of people that Belgium killed in Congo alone runs into millions. So this so-called European civilization essentially exploited the global south for more than 100 years to become rich and powerful. And now it talks about values.
I believe that we should take the American president seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the USA chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That includes our NATO membership and thus the security that has been established since the end of World War II.
Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm talking to you from Colombo in Sri Lanka, and I'm going to talk to you about the other part of the world, Donald Trump's threats to take over Denmark's colony or territory, the Greenland, the big, huge island, which is reportedly full of natural resources, especially rare earth minerals that America feels it needs to ensure its national security. And basically, all the new critical technologies are so dependent on these rare earth minerals, and the belief that Greenland has more than its fair share of these minerals has essentially made it a prize that superpowers are competing. The Europeans want to keep it. America wants it. Apparently, Russia and China are also showing a lot of interest in Greenland. So Donald Trump, who is now riding on a high because he has had this successful adventure in Venezuela. American troops basically invaded a country and captured its president without a single casualty. And that is a remarkable military operation. It shows America's capability militarily, intelligence-wise. I'm sure there must have been a lot of corruption in the Venezuelan military also, because there was hardly any defense or any response to the US. Now, it's quite possible that insurgency might arise later on because there are many drug cartels and armed groups in Venezuela. But for now, Donald Trump has achieved his goal with respect to Venezuela. He has precipitated a regime change. But not only that, he has arrested a president of a sovereign country and brought him and basically treated him like a petty criminal. To be fair to Trump and the Trump administration, Maduro was indicted in an American court. And this should be a message to all other leaders who think that if they can become leaders of their own country, they are going to be exempt from the reach and power of far more powerful countries. So it's an interesting development. It clearly shows that powerful states are no more interested in respecting international law. At least the United States is not interested in respecting international law. Already, the United States has taken many steps towards undermining the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice in order to protect essentially genocidal war criminals like Bibi Netanyahu. But now his eyes are set on Greenland. When he first said this after becoming president, people thought it was a joke when he was talking of Canada as the 51st state of the United States and definitely acquiring the Panama Canal and Greenland. But now he seems to be much, much more serious to such an extent that the Prime Minister of Denmark felt the need to come out and respond to it. And European leaders, to a great extent, have also commented on this particular development. So basically what Donald Trump is saying is that Greenland is something fundamentally necessary for the US national security, and therefore the United States will like to acquire Greenland, and basically he feels that neither Denmark nor the world will be able to do anything going forward. So it's an interesting scenario, and I find it a bit amusing because I do not think that Denmark's possession of Greenland is in any way somehow natural or legal or justified. It was for many, many, literally centuries, a colony. As far as Denmark was concerned, it was treated as a colony. Denmark inherited that from Norway through marriage. It's like a kind of a dowry. So they treated Greenland like something, like a possession, like some resource that you could share. And now it is, even though it does have self-rule and autonomy, but it is still part of Denmark, and I do not understand what justification there is for Denmark, for Greenland to be part of Denmark, unless you say that people of Denmark, people of Greenland want to be part of Denmark because it benefits them. Trump is, at least Rubio is saying that the US is interested in buying Greenland. Whereas Trump seems to say that we are interested in acquiring Greenland, so it's possible that he might take by force. So I'm going to show you a couple of statements before I give you my own take on this issue. And so first I will play to you what President Trump has been saying, and his latest statement, especially after what happened in Venezuela.
We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you.
And if you look at or listen to the Prime Minister of Denmark, this is how she responded.
First of all, I believe that we should take the American president seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the USA chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That includes our NATO membership and thus the security that has been established since the end of World War II.
You know, as an American, I'm sick of this. I also want to show you how other European leaders have responded. And this is a statement issued by Macron, and the Chancellor of Germany, the Prime Minister of Italy, the Prime Minister of Poland, and the 2 or 3 other European leaders too. But let me tell you that I'm sick of this whole justification that, oh my God, if you do this, NATO will die. Oh my God, if you do this, NATO will come to an end, as if NATO is the sole purpose for the existence of America. And this whole business of Europeans saying, well, we are united and all. Well, if they were so united, why didn't they handle the issue of Ukraine without Americans spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the past 4 years to protect? Without the United States, Ukraine would not have survived. Let me tell you, and put it very bluntly, that if the US had not been supporting Ukraine with weapons and all the money, even now, even though the US is not providing the financial aid, the US is still providing the weapons which the Europeans are buying, and it's NATO which is buying those weapons and not just Europe, which means the US is also part of those who are buying weapons from the United States to provide for Ukraine. So this threat that, oh my God, if you attack a European country, NATO will disappear, I reject that. I think the world will be at least a much better place without NATO. And frankly, let me tell you, for me, Europe's security, Europe's pleasure, Europe's happiness, Europe's civilization, Europe's civilizational continuity is not the #1 priority. To me, Europe is a colonial power that robbed the global South, ruled it, ruined it, raped it, murdered literally millions of people. The amount of people that Belgium killed in Congo alone runs into millions. So this so-called European civilization essentially exploited the global South for more than 100 years to become rich and powerful. And now it talks about values. Even now you can see, while the genocide of Gaza was taking place, they did nothing. They did nothing to stop. In fact, some European countries like Germany and UK have actively supported Israel and given it weapons during the genocide and even after that. So there is, as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing moral about Europe itself that Americans need to preserve and fight and spend American taxpayer dollars to preserve, as if it's some kind of a global public item or good that others need to sacrifice their own national interests to preserve. If Donald Trump feels that Greenland could become part of Russia or become part of China, and it is vital to American national interests, then the Europeans who think that America is so important to its security that it should compromise and adjust. Okay, don't sell it to the US. Give it to the US for 100 years. Give it to the US for 50 years. Maybe we can make all the Greenlanders America's citizens. They can have an autonomy, whatever they want. It's not about the Greenlanders, it's about the land, and we will develop it. We can even, whatever money comes out of it, whatever wealth comes out of it, they will get it. It's like in Alaska. The oil that comes out is, some of the oil wealth is shared with the citizens equally, or at least in whatever proportion they have agreed upon. So as far as Greenland is concerned, I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm with Trump on this issue at all. I mean, I'm not with Trump on what happened in Venezuela. I mean, it clearly violates a lot of international norms. Maduro is not worth fighting for. Maduro is not worth defending. But I'm more worried that Venezuela's, unless this current regime plays ball with the US and controls the thing tighter, there could be an insurgency. And so hopefully the opposition will work with the current regime, and they can have an election if they like. The US is not interested in promoting democracy in Venezuela. And you know what? Even I don't care about democracy now after what happened in Gaza. The genocide was conducted by a so-called liberal democracy, heavily funded, supported, and armed by democracies like Canada, UK, Germany, and the US. So I don't know what to say about the moral value of democracies anymore. They are genocidal. They commit genocides, and they support genocides, and they defend genocides. So if the US promotes democracy in Venezuela or does not, I really don't care. But it's quite interesting, this whole idea that if the US were to attack Denmark, it would end NATO is kind of an interesting idea, and that is the only reason why Greenland should be allowed to remain part of Denmark. So the threat that Denmark will leave NATO, I would really want this thesis to be tested, whether all the Europeans will say that that this is dissolved. There are NATO powers which have been hostile to each other, like Turkey and Greece. That has not ended NATO, but we will see what happens. And I don't think there's going to be a war or anything. It will be like what happened in Venezuela. One fine day, there will be probably 10,000 American parachutists dropping into Greenland, and that's the end of it. I think Donald Trump can take Greenland without firing a shot. And if there is any shot to be fired, probably the first shot will be fired by either Denmark or Greenland. So yes, there can be a bloodless annexation. But I would recommend, very frankly, for the Prime Minister of Denmark, who has already had a long conversation with Trump about it, to have a formal dialogue in which perhaps Denmark can continue to play some role in the future of Greenland as it is. I think in the 1950s, they gave home rule to Greenland, and in 2009, Greenland has got some kind of total self-rule. So as it is, Denmark is not deeply involved in governing Greenland. It just wants to possess this huge island, which is probably 10 times bigger than what it is. But anyway, I think it's interesting that these things are happening. For a student of international relations, Donald Trump has become a very, very interesting person. As the leader of the world's most powerful country, which was a status quo power, he has become a revisionist power. He's doing what China and Russia and India and Iran wanted to do, is completely topple the existing global order, which benefited the West. Countries like Denmark have enjoyed peace and prosperity because of the power, global structure and order that the US had created, defended, and shall we say, perpetrated for 5-6 decades. But I think it's now time to collect for all the services that the US has provided to the Europeans. And if that is one way of paying the US off is by giving Greenland, then so be it. So on this particular issue, I know it may be inconsistent with my constant references to international law and international order and so on and so forth. But let me tell you, for the last 20, 25 years that I have been a professor of international relations, I have always been disappointed by international law and all the bullshit that Western nations have propagated about norms and principles, whether it was in Iraq, whether it is in Palestine, whether it's with regards to Afghanistan or anywhere else. The United States has always been very hypocritical, and the Europeans have stood fast with the US. The British went in with America into Iraq, a war that clearly was illegal and unjustified. So I have no sympathy at all for this law. And I must say, I'm quite amused by this whole European response to the US. Come save us, come save us. For the last 2 years, they've been, since Donald Trump became president, they've been desperately trying to make sure that the US is there to support Ukraine. And now they issue a statement threatening the US with what? What are they going to do? Impose sanctions? Are they going to fight the US if the US decides to take Greenland by force? And you know what? Who is worried at the moment? It's Canada. And what is also interesting is that the voice of the Global South, Prime Minister Modi of India, who projected himself as the leader of the Global South, hosted conferences, I think 3 conferences with the title Global South, and we are a rising power, this is a multipolar world, India is this, India is that, the 4th biggest economy. It's completely quiet, mum on the issue of Venezuela. In fact, the statement they issued did not even mention the US, no mention of international law, no mention of imperialism or anything or any concern. So if the world's great country like India and this great prime minister, apparently highly respected all over the world, is literally shut up by what Trump is doing, I think it is interesting to watch. And this whole idea that we live in a multipolar world and America is done and America is over is all meaningless. America's GDP is still 26% of the global economy. Yes, China is powerful, but what is China doing? Is China going to defend Venezuela? China is going to be one of the biggest losers after what happened in Venezuela. Are Russia and China going to combine and try to block the US if it decides to take Greenland? No. Are the Europeans going to create a new NATO and replace the US with China, Russia, and India? No. So Donald Trump has realized that the rest of the world just talks. Anyway, that is my take for today. The weather is fantastic in Sri Lanka, and this is really a very beautiful country. So I don't want to stay too long indoors, but I would love to talk to you guys. So please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and I'm going out in a tuk-tuk to take a city tour of Colombo. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care.